Hello and welcome to this new video class on reported questions. So let's start. First, let's see the function. What is the function of reported questions? It says, we use reported questions to repeat what someone asked without using their exact words. For example, somebody asks literally, did you eat already? And then when I'm trying to report that question, when I'm trying to say someone else, what he said, I'm going to say, he asked if I already ate. I am reporting what he said. I am repeating what he said, but I am not using the exact same words. I'm reporting it. Another example is somebody says exactly, literally, how are you doing? And I'm going to report it. I'm going to repeat it as he asked how I was doing. Yes. So this is basically a rough example of what the function of reported questions are. Let's see what's the next slide. Okay, let's see the general formula for reported questions. First, we're gonna need a subject. Who is the person that said? Who are we repeating? Who are we reporting what they said? Then we're gonna need the reporting verb. There are several reporting verbs, but for questions, we're mostly gonna use the verb ask as a reporting verb. And then it says we have a subject, a reporting verb, and then a reported sentence. So for the reported sentence is we're going to repeat the thing that they said, but we're gonna do it a little bit different. And so let's see how we're going to do it. So here we have a person that is called Ryan. That is the subject. And he said, why didn't you go to the party? That's a question. Yes, so I am going to tell someone else what he said. I'm going to report it, but instead of saying it exactly like him, I'm going to report it. I'm going to repeat it in a different way. And we're going to do it using this formula. So first, we're going to need the subject. Here we have it, Ryan. Ryan is the subject. Then remember, reporting verb, ask. Here we have the reporting verb asked. In this case, we're using the past form because we are reporting in the future. When we are saying what he asked us to do, it's something that already happened in the past. Ryan asked me in the past, not what I'm saying. When I'm telling you, he's not asking me. He already did ask, so we're gonna put it as a reporting verb is gonna be almost always in the past. So Ryan is the subject. Asked is the reporting verb in past, and then the reporting sentence. In this case, the bulk of the sentence or the thing, the words that he said. Okay, so the reported question or sentence is why I didn't go to the party. So this is the general way we're going to use reported questions. It's very similar as reported sentences. You can check out the other video that I did about that. I'm going to link it in the description or somewhere, so you can check it out. It's mostly the same, but now we're dealing with questions specifically. Let's see what else. All right, so next slide. Here we have a little tip, something to remember when you're using this grammar. And it says report questions using affirmative word order. So a usual question says usual question uses auxiliary, subject, and verb word order. That's a normal question. Remember, questions we start them with the auxiliary before the subject. For example, the question is, what did you dream about last night? So the order that we have, a usual question, is what did, we start with the auxiliary, and then you. What did you dream about last night? So first we have the auxiliary, and then we have the subject. That is a usual word order for a question, but it says right there, report questions using affirmative word order, the usual order, the one that we use normally. And that is the subject first and then the verb or the auxiliary. So below we have here, reported questions use the usual word order. So we have this same question, but now it's reported, and it says they, that is the subject, asked, that is the reporting verb in past. And then we have what. Remember to also include the double H question if we have it. So they asked what. This is the reported part of the question. It says this is they asked what we're gonna start with the subject, dreamt. We're gonna do the verb. Yes. So here is not gonna be any auxiliary before because we're using the affirmative word order. We're using the affirmative word order. So they asked what I dreamt about last night. So that is the affirmative word order. Now let's go to the next one. It says, remember that we report things in the past. Yes, remember what I told you, that everything that we are reporting, we are saying something that happened in the past. So we're gonna do it in the past form. Not just the reporting verb, but also every verb that somebody asks us, we have to put it in the past form of that verb. For example, whenever we have the auxiliary can, it's going to become a could, because could is the past of can. If somebody says is, we're going to put it in the was. So let's check it out. Okay, so now we have two types of questions, real big general types of questions. We have yes or no questions, or we have information questions. Let's see a little bit. Well, yes or no questions are the ones that have an answer only yes or no. Information questions are the ones that need some piece of information, something new, not just yes or no. So let's start with yes or no. It says conditional word if, the word if implies a yes or no answer. So we're always going to use the word if when we're reporting yes or no questions. Let's see an example. It says, can I borrow your book? That's a question, and simple, direct question. Can I borrow your book? The answer can be yes, you can borrow my book, or no, you cannot borrow my book. Yeah, so it's a yes or no question. Now we're gonna report it like this. She, we're gonna start with the subject. Who asked? She. Or you can put a name. She, then what is the reporting verb? She asked. Remember, we're talking in the past. She asked, and now the reported part. We're gonna use if because it's a yes or no question. She asked if she could borrow my book. So we're gonna change first I, because she's talking. When I report it, I'm gonna change it for a she because I'm not talking. She's not talking anymore. I am talking. So I is gonna become she, and can is gonna become could. Notice how we have the affirmative word order. Yes, instead of can she or could she, we're gonna do she could. Remember, affirmative word order. And because we're talking in the past, can is gonna become could, because could is the past of can. So she asked if she could, and then borrow my book instead of your book. I am talking now, so it's gonna be my book. So again, she asked if she could borrow my book. We're gonna use if for yes or no question. Remember that. Now, for information questions, it says, information questions are reported as a regular sentence. So here we have a normal direct question. It says, what did you do last night? We have a double H question, so we know it's information questions: when, why, how, why, and so on. So what did you do last night? That's a simple information question, direct. And now we're going to report it. We're going to say he. Who asked? Who is the subject? He did. And what is the reporting verb? In this case is going to be asked. So he asked. Remember, we're going to use what. We're going to keep the double H. The double H stays right there. So he asked what. And then I. Remember, you becomes I. I'm the subject of the reported sentence. What I did. as you can see, we no longer have a auxiliary before the subject. We have the subject, and then the verb do becomes did. And we don't need an auxiliary because we're using the affirmative word order of the words of the grammar. So he asked what I did last night. Yes, it's a simple, regular sentence, just like the ones that we learned on the other video. He asked what I did last night. So that's basically it. So now let's see some examples. We're gonna do this together. Let's start with let me do this a little bit. Okay, so now let's do some simple okay, now let's do some exercises together so that you're sure you understand this. First, let's start with yes or no questions. Here, we have a little formula, so you can check it out. It says we're gonna need a subject. Remember, the subject is who talked, who said the original sentence. Then the reporting verb. Remember, it's usually gonna be asked. And then if, remember, yes or no questions are always going to use the if. And then the reported sentence. Remember, the reported sentences go in the affirmative word order. So here, Christopher says, this is literally what he said, do you want to dance? Yes, we have this already halfway through, yes? So we already have the subject who said the sentence, Christopher did. We have the reporting verb, asked, remember, in the past. And now, what is the next thing? Well, now we're going to put literally the word if. Christopher asked if, and then the reported sentence. So who is the sentence of the new, who is the subject, sorry. Who is the subject of the new sentence? Do you want to dance? He was asking me. So I am going to be the subject of the next sentence. Remember, because it's affirmative word order, we're not going to put the auxiliary. We're not going to start Christopher asked if do. We're not going to use the auxiliary. We're going to go directly to the subject. Christopher asked if I, and then the verb is want, but because we're reporting it in the past, I'm going to say Christopher asked if I wanted, and then the rest of the sentence. It's dance. Christopher asked if I wanted to dance. So this is what he said. This is how I reported it. Yes, pretty simple. Now let's do the next one. Just the same. It's already halfway done, so we're just going to complete it. Now, in this case, Mark is talking. Mark said, has John arrived? It's a yes or no question. Yes, he has, or no, he hasn't. So we're going to use this same grammar structure. So we already have it. The subject is Mark. The reporting verb is asked. Yes, in this case, we're including a object to specify who did he ask. This, you can use it or not. You can use he asked who? He asked me. So now from here on, we're just going to do the rest. We already have the subject, the reporting verb. Now we're going to need the literal if. Mark asked me if. Now, affirmative word order. That means we're going to start with the subject. Who is the subject of the sentence or the question? Who's the subject of the question that Mark asked me? So in this case, it says, has John arrived? In this case, it's John. It's not going to change because whoever I talk to, it's going to stay the same. John is going to be the same. Still going to be the subject of the sentence. So Mark asked me if John is the subject, and Mark asked me if John. Remember, we're not going to start with the auxiliary, but because it's the affirmative word order, we're going to change this has, because has John arrived. It's a present perfect sentence, so we have the subject And after the subject, we're going to use the auxiliary because it's affirmative word order. So Mark asked me if John had, in this case, we're going to do the auxiliary in the past because remember, we always report sentences in the past. Mark asked me if John had arrived. We're going to stay arrived ed the same because this is the past participle. Remember, present perfect is have or has or had, and the past participle. Mark asked me if John had arrived. So Mark said literally, has John arrived? And then I'm going to report it as Mark asked me if John had arrived. Well, no question, sorry. You never use the question mark in reported sentences, reported questions, sorry. So that's number 2. Let's do number 3. Elizabeth is going to be our new subject. So Elizabeth said, did you watch the latest film? Here, again, we have a yes or no question. So we already have it halfway done. Elizabeth asked me. I am the object of the sentence. So we have a halfway through. Elizabeth, subject, asked, reporting verb, me. Now, remember, after the reporting verb, it's going to go with the if, again, because it's a yes or no question. So, Elizabeth asked me if I am the subject of the question she asked. So, Elizabeth asked me if I, remember, affirmative word order, so we're not going to start with the auxiliary did. We're going to start with the subject. Elizabeth asked me if I... And now, because it's a simple past question, we're not going to use the auxiliary, but we're going to turn the subject into the sorry, again. Vamos a hacer esto de nuevo. Okay, so let's do the next one. Now we have the subject, Elizabeth. She is going to ask us a question. And she says, did you watch the latest film? So that is going to be our subject. Who said the sentence? Elizabeth is our subject. She said the sentence. Asked is the reporting verb in the past. And now we're going to do the reported sentence. We're going to turn this into affirmative word order, and remember, we're gonna do it in the past form, in its past form. So since we have did you watch the latest film, since we have a simple past, we need to turn that into its past form. So remember, we are going to use now the past perfect, because remember, past perfect, we use it to say when something happens before another event in the past. So whenever we have simple past and we want to talk about something before that, we're going to use past perfect. So instead of did, it's going to be the past perfect, which is had. Now, subject, reported verb, if. So the first thing we need to complete this is Elizabeth asked, that we need the word if because it's a yes or no question. Did you watch the latest film? Yes, I did watch it. No, I didn't. Elizabeth asked if, remember, we start affirmative word order, so we start with the subject. I am the subject of this sentence. Did you is me, so it's I. Elizabeth asked if I, and now past perfect. So the past perfect auxiliary we're going to use is going to be had. If I had, and then we're going to need the past participle of the action verb, of the main verb, which is watch. Because it's a regular verb, watch, the past participle, it's going to be regular as well. So it's going to be watched. And then the rest of the question, the latest film. Elizabeth says, did you watch the latest film? And when I reported, I say, Elizabeth asked if I had watched the latest film. Okay, now let's do the next sentence. In this next sentence, we have our subject is Andrew. Andrew said a question. He said, will Mandy have lunch with Sue? And so we're gonna we're gonna report these questions. We already have the first part of the question. Andrew, which is the subject, who said, asked, which is the reporting verb, in the past, because he asked me in the past. Me, I am the object of the sentence. And what did he ask me? He asked, will Mandy have lunch with Sue? So because we're using will, we need to use its past counterpart. So what is the past of will? It's going to be would. Andrew asked me, would. Well, first we need the subject. Who's the subject in there? Mandy. Mandy is the subject. We're talking about Mandy. We're not talking about me anymore or Andrew. We're talking about third person, which is Mandy. Usually third persons don't change. So Andrew asked me. Remember, it's a yes or no question, so we need to start with if. Andrew asked me if, and now what is the subject? If Mandy is the subject. And remember, start with the subject and then the auxiliary. So the auxiliary is going to be will, but the past form of will is going to be would. Andrew asked me if Mandy would have lunch with Sue. Just the rest of the question. Okay, so last one for yes or no questions. Next one says the subject of this last question is Mandy. Mandy is the one talking. Mandy is the one asking the question. It says, Mandy, can I help you? That's literally what she said. Can I help you? And so now Mandy, we already have this sentence halfway through. So the subject is Mandy, who said it. And now we have a little bit of a different reporting verb. In this case, it's wanted to know. That is going to be the whole phrase instead of asked. So we can say asked or wanted to know, and it's exactly the same thing. We can say Andrew. It's the same as if we say Andrew wanted to know if Mandy would have lunch with Sue. These two questions are exactly the same. Asked me or wanted to know. So this is basically just a different reporting verb. So Mandy is the subject, wanted to know is the reporting verb, and now we're gonna complete the reported sentence. She said, can I help you? Remember, because it's a yes or no question, we're going to start with if. Mandy wanted to know if. Now, what is the subject inside the question? She said I. So it's going to be Mandy. Mandy is going to be the subject. We're going to turn it into she. We're going to start with the subject because it's the affirmative word order. So Mandy wanted to know if Mandy, and because we have can as an auxiliary, remember what is the past form of can? The past is going to be could. And affirmative word order, we're going to have subject and verb. Mandy wanted to know if she could help. Now, it's going to change because she's talking to me. So we're going to change the object of that sentence to me. She wanted to know if she could help me. Yes. So Mandy asked, can I help you? And I reported it as Mandy wanted to know if she could help me. Okay, now let's do the next part, information questions. So here we have again a simple formula that I wrote to remember how do we report information questions. So again, we're going to start with the subject. Who said the sentence? Who are we reporting? Who are we repeating? Then we have the reporting verb or reporting phrase. In this case, we're usually going to use asked. And now we're going to put another thing. Instead of if, now we're going to use double H. If we ever have a double H question with information questions, we're going to include that. We're not gonna put it out. We're gonna leave it there after the reporting verb, and then we're gonna do the reported sentence. Remember, in the affirmative word order. So let's start. First sentence, we have the subject is Betty. Betty says, "When did you come?" That is literally the question that she asked. When did you come? And now I'm going to report it. We already have this halfway through, so let's continue. It says subject, that is Betty. Betty is the subject who is saying that. Reporting verb, or in this case reporting phrase, is wanted to know. Remember, wanted to know is the same as asked. So we have a subject, we have a reporting verb. Now we're gonna need our double H question. In this case is the when. So Betty wanted to know when. And now, first, before we continue, we need to see what tense are we going to use. In the question that Betty said, we're using the simple past tense. Did you come? When did you come? It's a simple past tense. Remember, what is the past version of the simple past? It's going to be the past participle. Past participle. So we're going to use the past participle, but in the affirmative word order. So first of all, we're going to need the subject of the reported sentence. In this case, the subject of the reported sentence is you. When did you come? And because she's talking to me, then I'm going to report it as I. I am the subject of the reported sentence. Betty wanted to know when and then past participle, past perfect. So the auxiliary for past perfect is going to be had. Betty wanted to know when I had. And now the past participle of the action verb. In this case, the action verb is come. So the past participle of come, interestingly enough, it's exactly the same. Come. Remember, come is a irregular verb. Yes? So remember, we have the present is come, the past is came, and the past participle is come again. This is not a rule. This not all of the verbs in English are going to be like this, so I don't want you to get mixed up on that. So come is the present, came is the past, simple past, and come again is the past participle. So in this case, we're not using the present, this is the past participle. Betty wanted to know when I had come. Okay, that's number one. Number two, in this case, Ronald's talking. So Ronald says, "Where does Maria park her car?" So we already have this halfway through. We already have the subject Ronald. We have the reporting verb asked, including me as an object. Ronald asked me. So now we're going to need the double H question. Which one is he using? He's using the double H question, where. So we're going to start with that. Ronald asked me where. Reported double H question. Now the reported sentence. Now remember, affirmative word order. First, we're going to need the subject. Who is the subject of the sentence? In this case, it's a third person, is Maria. So Ronald asked me where Maria. That's the sentence. Now, what is the tense that we're going to use for this? Where does Maria park her car? So with this, we know we're using simple present. When he asked where does Maria park her car, we're talking in the simple present. So the past version of the simple present is going to be simple past. So where does Maria park her car becomes Ronald asked me where Maria parks her car. It's going to be a simple present sentence. Maria parks her car. Ronald asked me where Maria parks her car. That is the reported version. Now, for the next one, the subject is going to be Justin. Justin is going to be talking, and he's going to ask, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" So we already have these reported question halfway through. It's we already have the subject, Justin, who said the sentence, the reporting verb, asked. And we have me as an object. He asked me. Now the next part is the double H question. The double H questions that we're using here, that Justin is using here, is what. Justin asked me what. And now we're going to do the reported sentence. Remember, affirmative word order. So we're going to start with the subject. Who's the subject of the question that Justin asked? Is you. You is the subject, but in this case, it's me because he's talking to me. So I am going to be the subject. Justin asked me what I, and now we need to check what is the tense that we're going to use. What tense is Justin using right there? What are you doing? ING and are in the simple present. So we're using the present progressive or present continuous, ING. Remember, what is the past form of the present continuous? Well, it's going to be the past continuous. If the present continuous, we use the verb to be are, then the past, what are you? It's going to become the verb to be in the past for the subject I. So Justin asked me what I was, because it's verb to be in the past for I, what I was, and then the verb in the ing. That one doesn't change because simple past, past progressive is going to be just like that. Justin asked me what I was doing. That is the reported question. And now the last one. It says, now Frank is talking. Frank is going to be our new subject. And it says, how much pocket money does Lisa get? Here, we also have an information question because we have a double H question. Well, even though it doesn't have double H, how is part of the double H questions. So we already have halfway through. We have the subject Frank. Frank is the subject of the new sentence. Wanted to know is the reporting verb or reporting phrase. In this case, remember, wanted to know is the same as asked. So Frank wanted to know. And now, double H question. Which one is using? He's using know. Frank wanted to know how. And now, how much? How much pocket money? Now we're going to get to the part of the reported sentence. What is the tense that Frank is using? How much pocket money does Lisa get? We're using the simple present, does. So we're going to report it in the simple past. And remember, affirmative word order. So we're going to start with the subject of that question. In this case, is going to be Lisa. So we start with Lisa does get, and we're going to put that into the simple past. Remember, because does is for questions when we do it in the affirmative. We're not going to use the auxiliary, but we're going to use the main verb in the past form. How much money, pocket money does Lisa get? What is the past? Simple past of get. The simple past is got. So Lisa got. Instead of does Lisa get, Lisa got. So, and that's going to be it. So just to review, Frank asked, how much pocket money does Lisa get? And we're going to report it as Frank wanted to know how much pocket money, that is a double H question, and then Lisa got. Affirmative word order in the simple past because he was asking the simple present. Okay, and that's it for today. Okay, guys, and that's it for today. See you in another video.